All righty. Well, I am so very pleased today to introduce none other than Myles Cooper, who I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you are at the Mechanics Institute. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm the library manager and archivist at Mechanics Institute in downtown San Francisco.
Beautiful downtown San Francisco. That's fantastic. Well, the reason that I'm having you here and speaking with you today is that I, not too long ago, learned that the Mechanics Institute is the home of the, and I'm going to pronounce this as best I can, but you can correct me, the Tarpey-Schwed LGBT Families Children's Book Special Collection, which I had never heard of. I worry other people haven't heard of, and I wanted to talk to you about today. So
Oh,
I
great.
want to do that. Yeah, let's do that thing. So I was a little curious. This collection is apparently more than 50 years old. It is a little unique in that I have never heard of a collection of. I'm not saying this is the only one that's out there, but it's the only one that I've heard of. What can you tell me about how it came to be?
It came to be by way of Randy or Randall Tarpey-Schwed, who is a book collector here in the Bay Area and is well known in book collecting circles and antiquarian book collecting circles for collecting all kinds of things, cookbooks. He was the president of the Book Club of California, which is an old, established, like minded nonprofit that works in their capacity to publish all kinds of wonderful things and showcase press history and publishing history. They have wonderful programs. Anyway, it came by way of Randy. He did the very practical thing in that he was raising two daughters with his husband, and he was looking for books to read to his family, and he was looking for books that reflected his experience and his family. And being a book
About
collector,
what year would you say this was?
um, gosh, I would have to think. I think in the early 2000s
Okay.
or maybe mid 2000s is
Okay.
when his family of four people kind of started with the young ones. So it started from a very practical place of just trying to have some books to read to your kids. Um, and it grew from there because, being a book collector and just being interested in um, all kinds of materials, it grew from there. So he arranged this collection and he wrote an article for the Book Club of California in their quarterly and also presented at the Hormel Center at San Francisco Public Library, which is a long established LGBTQIA collection and resource for San Francisco and really the whole country. So it had this foundation in that it had already been promoted and kind of talked about, but it was in a private collection. And Randy was looking to find a place that would honor it as a special collection, as a research collection in its entirety and not break it up and put the kids' books in the circulating collection, get them all kind
Mhm.
of tattered. And we know what happens with kids' books and we love that. But this was really unique in that it was really the history of this aspect of publishing, but also of the development of children's literature that expresses and represents LGBT parents and family members. So, for that reason, it really should be treated like a special collection. And Randy, being a member here, kind of talked to me about it and was like, where do I donate these books? Where should they go? And I really wanted them to go to the best home possible. And there are some amazing other organizations here in the Bay Area, like the GLBT Historical Society, which has an archive, which is so amazing. They have costumes and pictures. And, being an archive, it's mostly ephemera, things that are one off and not really serialized, items like books. And some of the larger systems like San Francisco Public Library treat materials in kind of a different way. If it's a kid's book, it might go to the children's department, yada, yada, yada. And I really saw that we were uniquely positioned being a member supported nonprofit. We've been around since 1854, so that's even before the public library here.
Hmm.
That we're independent and that these books can't be banned, they can't be messed with. And, that's very unique. And it also, um, we have this real goal to diversify our programs, our collections, to really better represent the Bay Area and all the different people and families here.
Mhm.
So it really seemed like we're actually a really good home for this, and it was kind of a no-brainer. We're also very involved in writers and writing, and we have seminars, master classes here, author talks many times a week. Um, and it's just a real kind of hub for writers. So it also kind of was in line with that of showcasing the development of this aspect of literature. So we are really thrilled to welcome this special collection. And all of my staff were excited about it. And it's been a real treat.
That's great. And I love the connection between the book collecting world, which is a fascinating world that I know very little about, and then more academic world. And the fact that you took it on the collection itself is to be commended, because I know plenty of places that accept collections but then never catalog them, and they just sit in boxes in a basement somewhere for 50 years and no one ever quite gets to them. So it's nice. This is and this is a collection that anyone can walk in and look at, or
Yeah, so we built the discovery layer, Librar Labs, which are a new kind of startup from Sweden. We're actually here in San Francisco to work on building their new ILS. And they became members here, and we just kind of chit chatted, and they wanted to work on a project here. And I'm thinking, this is the hardest thing that you could possibly do, because a lot of these books have just not been cataloged.
yeah. Oh yeah.
You really have to think outside of the box and how to make these discoverable. And I wasn't really sure, if these should be cataloged in the standard way where we assign call numbers and put them in the
Mhm.
catalog, because there's so much nuance and things about the book that people would want to discover, about the different family relations.
It's a lot of
And I wasn't
original cataloging.
a lot, yeah, and I didn't want to bog down the technical services department. And then also, I could have taken it and made it more of an archival collection and done a guide and put it in online archive of California, but that would really only be discoverable to archivists and researchers and
Mhm.
academics. And I really felt like this collection, I wanted it to be discoverable from families,
Yeah.
undergrads, teenagers, really anybody interested in this. So Libra really stepped in and they built this amazing discovery portal that's like a catalog, and you can see the cover of the book. You can read, about if a book has, lesbian moms, it'll say that. And then it kind of gives a historical context of like where it was banned and a bit about the book and the author. It's really cool. So yes, it's discoverable by anybody in the world through this portal. And then, like any archive or special collection, maybe not any, but like ours, if people want to physically look at a book and read through it, they can make an appointment, and
Mhm.
anybody can set up an appointment here and use this collection here at Mechanics Institute for research.
That's great. Well, and then so you got this collection in the first place. You figured out how to catalog it in any way, shape, or form. Has it grown since that time? Do you add to it in any way?
Yeah, so we acquired the collection in really like November of 2025. So it's very fresh and very new to us. Um, we are purchasing contemporary children's books, you know, about LGBTQIA topics. Those are going into circulation. Those are just going in a regular kids section.
Hmm.
Um, this collection being historic, if it was just static, it would have immense value. Many of these titles are the first. They're small run. They're independent feminist press, self-published. So if it was static, it would still be grand and wonderful. We don't necessarily want to keep it static, but we're kind of at this point where we've made this amazing portal, and we will add to it, but there's not like a pressure to add to it right now. We can kind of see how things work out, and we're happy to add to it. And Randy's happy to add to it too. When we were kind of like negotiating how this might happen, we wanted the freedom. And we wanted him to trust the librarians. Like, if we want to add to it, is that okay? Can we use, the name of your family when we do it? And the answer was yes.
That's great. That's great. I mean, yeah, particularly because we're seeing, a lot more trans authors, a lot more trans representation in particular, which historically was not in queer collections of kids' books. So, yeah, it's constantly evolving. It's good to hear about. And I was going to ask you what makes it worthy of inclusion, but you kind of covered that right there. So that's great. So you've seen the full range of the collection. With that in mind, how has it changed from the early days to what it is now, since you are looking at some of the things being published right now? What sort of changes has it gone through over time?
Yeah. That's a great question, and that's a question many people have when they think about this collection. And, I'm not the subject expert in this field. I haven't read every book, but the early books often deal with, same-sex parents and their child, and the child almost has to keep their family a secret, or it's something to be shameful of, or that's sad. Like there's this kind of dark, sad feeling about them. It's not really affirming. Some of these stories, they're sad. And I'm delighted to read some contemporary queer kidlit that is affirming and celebratory and happy and natural. But that question is really best answered by probably people researching in this collection, writing papers, journalists, because I don't have all the answers.
That's perfectly fine.
I'm kind of the conduit.
I understand. No. You're not the academic who is writing your dissertation on the full scope. I was just kind of curious because I know you've definitely seen stuff that I think most of us have not, which is very interesting to me. So what is the earliest book in the collection? Can you say that?
The collection is mostly books. There are some articles and pieces of ephemera. So it dates back to 1969. But the earliest, I don't want to say this because it's probably, there might be something else to be discovered, right? So this isn't set in stone. This is an active site of, that people are researching. Is probably When Megan Went Away, which I have right here.
Well, yeah.
And it's a very cute, wonderful book about two moms, and one of the moms leaves the relationship. And so it's pretty sad. It's about like divorce, in a sense. A family member leaving the family unit. And this was from 1979. Lollipop Power.
Lollipop Power did a bunch of them, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So this may be one of the earliest. It's one of the earliest for sure. It may be the first.
I didn't mean like what's the first ever published. I just meant what's one of the earlier ones from your particular collection.
Yeah, this is one of the earlier ones. Yeah.
Wow, and that's really interesting to me that it not only is it same-sex parenting, but they just dove into the divorce issue, or at least the separation issue of two parents.
Yeah, and it's
Woo.
it's detailed and it feels realistic because families are complicated.
Yeah,
Um,
they sure
this
are.
is another great one by Lollipop Press as well, and it's called
Oh.
Lots of Mommies.
Hmm.
And there's lots of lesbians living in this household with lots of kids, and it's almost like a commune or something, that kind of 70s commune vibe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Hey, we have almost no polyamory families represented these days. So, in a way, this might be the first. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, fascinating. All right. Well, I really just only have, I think, one more question for you, but I'm sure people will be looking up this collection now that they've heard about it. I wonder if you can speak a bit about the importance of maintaining this collection, its place in the greater pantheon of children's literature, and where you see it going in the future.
yeah. I like many librarians, or maybe all librarians. I think think of we want there to be one book for every reader in the library, and it's a real shame that um, LGBTQIA plus families and children haven't had that as their experience in the library. So it's very important that we have these books in libraries. And I'd like to take it one step further. And I think this collection shows that one step further, in that um, this is a part of history, that, queer history is history, and it's worth preserving. And while we have these book bans happening and these contemporary titles or things that are still in print the past, 10 or 20 years, um, are being moved or maybe used and damaged, that there needs to be libraries or archives saving these materials, because they are fragile, they're rare, they're misunderstood, they're interesting, they're charming, they're cool, and we're happy to take care of them here at Mechanics Institute. And it really reflects Bay Area families. San Francisco is often cited as kind of this, the source of queer liberation and so many social movements. Not only, queer liberation, but, Black Power and
Mhm.
Oakland with Black Panthers. So there's a lot of social movement history here in the Bay Area. And I think librarians and archivists now are looking back at the 20th century and going, wow, we really need to save this stuff, because in our lifetime, it's going to be harder and harder to capture this material, capture this history. People are still living who have these collections. How do we partner with them? How do we save these stories that are deserving of, um, inquiry? Sorry about that. So I
Well,
hope that answers your question.
absolutely, it does, and and makes it clear. I would also say that these books aren't new. This isn't, with all the book banning that's currently going on, you get this feeling that people are suddenly discovering that there are such a thing as queer children's books, and they're horrified. But they've been around at least since the '70s, possibly before. So the importance of having, this collection, which is, one hopes, impervious to whatever governmental changes may come or go.
Mhm.
There's a lot of comfort in that, and I think be a lot of comfort for other people. So thank you so much for doing it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. All right. Well, it was delightful talking to you today. And hopefully people will be able to check out this collection online. I'll get that link from you, and we'll be able to include that, and people will be able to see the collection for themselves.
Great. Thank you, Betsy.
Thank you.